History is radical. Truth is radical. Truth is stranger than fiction. Always is. Always has been. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Paul Watts is coming up in the next segment. In studio, joining us from London, England. Old London town. Here's the bottom line. Most people seek affirmation from society, from culture, from the establishment. And they want to be conformist, and they want to be successful within the system. And that's great if you have a good system. But if you're an authoritarian EU or authoritarian North Korea or authoritarian Venezuela, where they're starving to death for 4 years running, eating their family pets, well, those were eaten a few years ago, conforming to a system that's broken the social contract is called cultural suicide. And I'm not going to commit suicide culturally or physically or spiritually. I was a history buff growing up. People ask why I'm so radical. I'm not radical. History is radical. Truth is radical. Truth is stranger than fiction. Always is. Always has been. And I had studied history, and I'd studied recent history, and I started reading then handbooks written by the globalists by the time I was 12 years old. And articles and publications of the John Birch Society, and none dare call it conspiracy, that I was reading what they said the elite were doing, and then I'd go read what the elite were saying at the library by the time I was 16, at law libraries, to actually read Club of Rome stuff, and it was word for word what JBS was saying. JBS is the most truthful, I'm not even a member, organization I've ever heard of. And it was founded by U.S. intelligence operatives who knew we were putting communist Chinese in charge in 1949. That's when our own splinter groups in our government went, we're not putting up with this. And those splinter groups have been in the government ever since trying to fight this. That's why Julian Assange has come out and said the CIA director is waging war on truth tellers like WikiLeaks, the Washington Post. Trump is so wrong on this. When the whistleblowers and our own intelligence agencies got the intel out on Hillary's criminal activity, you said if you've got the info, release it. Trump said that. Got to play that clip in the next segment. He said if the Russians had it, they should release it because it's Hillary committing the crimes. So how can Trump now do this? This, for me, is the biggest black eye to Trump. And I know he delegates. And I know if he goes after the Russians on the surface and goes after WikiLeaks on the surface, that gets him off his back in Congress. But it's all made up anyways, so he shouldn't do that for public consumption. It's wrong. We always hear Trump so loyal. Well, if people did things that were legal and lawful, exposing criminal activity and the government, and it got you elected, how in the hell, excuse me, how on earth can you do that, President Trump? I'm glad you're controlling our border. I'm glad you're getting our taxes cut. I'm glad you're trying to repeal Obamacare. I'm glad you're trying to stop the Islamists pouring in. I love 85% of what you're doing. But I don't want to give nukes to North Korea like the Clintons did, and I don't want to give them to Saudi Arabia like McMaster's is pushing for. That's up on Infowars.com. So it's absolutely certain that if Trump does this, it's wrong. And it opens the door for them to be able to say, well, you got this information. You claim's criminal, so you're a criminal, so the election's illegitimate. It's horse manure. We need more leaks exposing criminal activity, not less. I understand Trump doesn't like leaks inside his National Security Council on constitutional stuff. But that's not what this was. This was her private illegal servers and crimes she was committing. I'm going to have to come back in the next segment and take some of Paul's time. I'm sure he'll be fine to get into this whole nuke drill, but because that ties into all this. But I've got a major warning for Trump when we return on the other side of this break, one of the most important I've ever issued, and it ties into all of this straight ahead. You heard me plug at the end of the last segment. I'm going to plug again here because we had a lot of capital come in last week to help fund things, had a big specials end, and now there's not enough capital coming in day by day if you look at it to fund the operation. And some weeks we're in the red, some weeks we're in the black. We need to have a lot of black weeks to be able to deal with the globalist Islamist lawsuits, the George Soros law firm Islamist lawsuit that the media is playing dumb on, that the Federal Reserve Board members suing me on the secret New York Fed. I mean, you'll know a man by his enemies. My enemies are your enemies. They hate you because this is a conduit, a focal point, and we're rising, and they hate it. And if they can politically assassinate me, you know what's coming next, the physical. So we need your prayers. But InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, a lot of big specials running right now. Go take advantage of them and help fund this operation, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Commit. Sign up for auto ship on great things like our multivitamin fruit punch drink. It's got all the minerals and stuff. It's so good. And get 10% off additional when you sign up for auto ship. So you just support us every month. We need that committed, continual support because we're in the eye of the storm, ladies and gentlemen.
In ancient times, man roamed the earth in a constant state of hunting or being hunted. Introducing Caveman, where cutting-edge science meets ancient super nutrients. Secure your bottle right now at InfoWarsStore.com.